Hey kids, Flexing Teacher Weber here. I'm going to do a few more questions using the distributive property to solve math equations, and I'm going to do them in both ways again. And you should be familiar with both ways, but you'll also want to maybe choose the way that works best for you, see some of the benefits of each way. Now this next question is negative 20 equals 5 times 3 plus p, or 5 groups of 3 plus p. This time the parentheses are on the other side of the equal sign. I'm going to solve this by expanding the brackets first, or the parentheses first, and making those go away. So what I have here, 5 groups of 3 plus p. I'm going to use the shortcut method this time. 5 times 3 gives me 15. And 5 times positive p gives me plus 5p. And I have my equal sign, and I have negative 20. There's a two-step equation again. This time the variable p is on this side of the equal sign. I have a plus 15 that I'm going to make go away first by subtracting 15. Subtracting 15 to the other side of the equal sign. A negative and a negative together, add them up, you get negative 35. Positive 15 minus 15 goes away, so that equals positive 5p. I can just write that as 5p. That's 5 multiplied by p. Notice how I keep this on the same side of the equal sign. So I'm going to divide that by 5 and divide that side by 5, always doing the same thing to both sides. Negative 35 divided by 5 is negative 7. 5 divided by 5 is 1p. Or I can just write that as negative 7 equals p. Perfectly fine way to do that. You can see we're getting some bigger numbers there, but nothing too huge. Now the other way to do this, negative 20 equals 5 groups of 3 plus p. And I'll just focus in here. Now with the parentheses, and only when I have these parentheses, I can start off and I can see that this is multiply by 5. So I'm going to do the opposite of multiply by 5, which is divide by 5. And I'll do that to the other side as well. And you're going to see what happens. The benefit of this is you get smaller integers. Negative 20 divided by 5 is negative 4. 5 divided by 5 is 1. Group of 3 plus p. Working down the page again, one group of 3 plus p is just 3 plus p. And now what I have is a much smaller, simpler one-step equation to solve. I have a positive 3 beside the variable p. I'm going to subtract 3 from that side and subtract 3 right there. And I'm going to get negative 7 equals positive p, or just p. And once again, you can see both ways get me the same answer. The second way gets you smaller numbers. The first way will work all the time in every situation. Let's look at a couple more. Doink. You're going to see here how we get larger numbers when we expand these parentheses. So I'm going to divide my page again. And I'm going to use the shortcut method to expand the parentheses. So I'm going to have negative 64 equals negative 8 times x is negative 8x. And negative 8 times positive 8 is going to give me negative 64. And then what I'm going to do to both sides of the equal sign is I'm going to add 64 to both sides of the equal sign. So I'll add 64 there. Oh, and I was wrong too. You're not going to get very big numbers on this one. And add 64 there. And negative 64 plus 64 is 0 equals negative 8x. And these disappear. And then 0 equals negative 8 multiplied by x. Well, you can multiply both sides by negative 8. 0 divided by negative 8 is 0. And negative 8 divided by negative 8 gives me my x. So x is equal to 0. We haven't done this yet, but you can check that, right? If you were to replace this x with 0, 0 plus 8 is 8. And 8 multiplied by negative 8 gives me negative 64. So everything should be working out. Now, going over and doing the same question without expanding the parentheses first, if I had negative 64 equals negative 8 groups of x plus 8, and using this method, I could divide the parentheses side by negative 8, and then do the same thing to the other side, and I would get positive 8 on this side of the equal sign equals negative 8 divided by negative 8 is positive 1 group of x plus 8. And that's the same as saying 8 equals x plus 8. And then I have a x plus 8 on this side of the equal sign. So I'm going to do minus 8, and I'll get 0 equals x. I love this stuff. I love when math works out like this. Building on all the things we've done before, combining all the things, and finally bringing it all together. That's what math is. Okay, last question we're going to do. We'll do it in two ways. Okay, so I'm going to separate my page. And this question is negative 4 groups of 2x minus 8 equals 24. And I'm going to expand this using the shortcut method. So negative 4 times positive 2 is negative 8x. You've got to be careful here. Negative 4 times negative 8 is positive 32. And that equals 24. To solve this equation, start with the addition that's beside the variable, plus 32. The opposite of that is negative 32, and I'll do the same thing to the other side. This positive 32 and negative 32 cancel, and I'm left with negative 8x equals positive 24, negative 32. The signs are different, so I subtract them. And since I have more negatives, the answer is negative. To finish, it's negative 8 multiplied by x, so I'm going to divide by negative 8 and divide by negative 8 here. Negative 8 divided by negative 8 is positive 1x, and negative 8 divided by negative 8 is positive 1, or I can just say x equals 1. All that work to get 1. But we're using like terms, we're using the distributive property, we're really building up our algebra chops here. Okay, last way we'll do this using the distributive property, negative 4 times 2x minus 8 equals 24. You can see this, we've done this many times. Now we're going to get smaller numbers doing it this way. Doing it this way, we can start off by dividing the parentheses side by negative 4 and doing the same thing over there. And I'm going to get 1, negative 4 divided by negative 4 is positive 1 group of 2x minus 8. And 24 divided by negative 4 is negative 6. And then you're going to see that's the same as 2x minus 8 equals negative 6. And then you're going to see that we have a two-step equation that will start out by doing plus 8 there and plus 8 there. And this is going to go away, and we're going to be left with 2x equals 6 negatives and 8 positives means we subtract them and we have more positives, so it's positive 2. And now we have a simple one-step equation. 2 multiplied by x, do the opposite of that, divide by 2, divide by 2, and you get 1x equals 1, or x equals 1. So that's how we use the distributive property to solve math equations. I'm going to give you a few to practice, and then we'll practice a bit more on Monday, and then we'll put it all together and do some really complicated equations next week and finish this up next week. Hope you have a nice weekend. Flexing Teacher Weber out.